Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Haley, and I'm just here before bed just to share an inspirational message, or at least I hope it goes that way. And sorry, don't get terrified. That's just a really crazy artwork I did for my boyfriend, but don't worry about it. Okay, and okay, so let me just get into this. I've actually pre-written it because I was so worried I'm gonna forget it. So if I'm looking that way, don't worry, I'm just checking this script. Okay, so what is this all about? Well, it's about basically a dream that I had literally the other night. Something that I feel has really brought a lot of life and light into my life, sorry, and that I think may actually bring some clarity to everyone else as well at this time. Just the most important thing I want us to focus on is that, most of us are often prone to believe that life's kind of out of our control and we don't have any control over much. There's so many videos out there that tell you to just relinquish control. And that's a good thing, especially if you need to do that and been like too wound up. But there's also the other thing of like, what, a lot of people are actually more in control of their lives and more in control of their destinies than they even realize. And it can get so much like that to a point that it can actually hold us back. And that's why I feel like I want to share this. Okay, so recently I went through this time where I wasn't even aware of the fact that I was doing exactly this. I was emotionally and I was mentally stuck on this like subconscious level. And this happens from like day-to-day things like financial daily issues that can come up, focusing too much on things that look like they're just staying the same all the time. Relationship stuff that has been kind of just getting on my nerves, and I'm not even aware of like how much it's actually playing into my personality, even when I'm sleeping and weird stuff. So basically, you know, just to bring this back into perspective, recently, we came through the retrograde. I did post a tarot reading about how to overcome that if there were people who didn't, feel so lekker after that. But, straight after coming through this retrograde now, there's also the fact that this retrograde happened because we were passing through Pisces and coming into the month of Aries, right? And that time when we're settling from the Pisces to the Aries, if you're sensitive enough, or even if you're not, like, it can cause a lot of weird and intense dreams. So, you know, for most people who know me well, they know that I interpret dreams kind of paranormally often. It's part of my high intuition as an 11. Like, I often have these really weird, I would say kind of clairvoyantish dreams, and sometimes they creep the hell out of me. So, you know, it's not unusual for me to have these dreams, so I don't really get like too shocked or anything. But it's not so often that I'll have a dream where it is like that, but it's about something really intense with me that I haven't even been seeing. So that's why I'm sharing this, because it was kind of intense. And, you know, um, I was having this dream where like people and objects and events were happening that were so closely related to my real life that it felt really real. I will say that it felt really real. And even though it was like, it seemed so normal in the dream, um, when I actually reflected on it and woke up the next day and thought about the whole dream, I was like, wow, I actually understood all the events and even little things that were happening. Like at one stage, I was putting lipstick on. There was some weird guy that grabbed me, even though I have a boyfriend, and he was right there. And I was like, I was getting so annoyed this guy was touching me because I have a boyfriend and I didn't like him and I was so upset. Like all these little frustrations coming up in the dream. So I woke up the next day and realized like it was all these little frustrations boiling up to like the surface, because the retrograde, it really pushes all these subconscious emotions, mental things out. And yeah, so I mean I realized that that was all just like trapped parts of my subconscious boiling to the surface and really showing themselves in my dream. But the weirdest aspect about the dream, and this is the reason I'm actually kind of sharing this today, was what brought me to this point of realization, even realizing this the next day, because it's not usual that I'll have a dream and then like super intensely look at it and realize, hold on a second, there's something, like that needs to change. So the bizarre point of the dream, was okay, well, before I say it, I just want to first share some intense facts. You'll understand it just now. Sorry, it's going to go unrelated and then related again. So I just want to quickly talk unrelated to this, but actually related, is about Saturn. Yes, I'm talking about the planet Saturn. Okay, now Saturn, if you know anything about astrology or numerology or star signs or both or whatever, it has been a planet in numerology which rules 8. Okay, so if you're a life path 8, if you're having an 8 year like I am, and my boyfriend's an 8, or if you're even a rooting 8 like my sister and dad, and I think my numerological soulmate and a whole bunch of other people, whatever, if you've got an 8 in your numerology, right, that is ruled by Saturn. And the weirdest part that I also found out about this before we get back to my story, is that Saturn has been moved permanently into Aries since February 2023. And it's going to stay there until April 12th, 2028. Now, all of this I only found out the next day after I had this dream. And this is why I'm sharing this. Because, okay, now getting back to my dream. Now, as I said, I was seeing myself in like situations with family, with friends. Even my boyfriend was there in the dream, as I said. Physical objects and kind of situations that were just so dull, like even just us eating pizza, and it seems normal, but it was like in a dull context. And like I woke up like not even aware at first how frustrating it was. It came out gradually, but what it really brought it to that point was towards the end of the dream, because okay, my sister's getting married this year, so obviously that's a big thing. It's been like maybe there in like all my orbit of stuff as well this year. And so I'm sleeping in this dream along with all the other little familiar things that's going on. Of course, my sister's also there in the dream, and her wedding crew. It was actually part of the whole little town I was in this dream. And her wedding stuff was all in a hotel in this town. And I ended up on the top floor of this hotel, basically, okay? And there were a whole bunch of like male classmates there from back in high school days. Some of them I think were like dream classmates. Like it wasn't really important who they were. They just happened to be these like male dudes that were hanging out on the building there. I wasn't really hanging out with them. I had just come up there and like, oh hey, what's going on? And this is what I want to talk about. In front of us, like right above where these old classmates dudes were chilling and I'd come to see, was this huge silhouette of Saturn, basically. And then I realized that along with this hotel and this whole little town where I'd run around, had this frustrating thing happen, eaten pizza, even seen my mom at one point and had this really frustrating thing with her too, and then got to the top of this building, I saw Saturn now. Like the whole silhouette, it was like taking up the entire sky with rings. And, it was literally glaring over us. So I turned around and I asked these classmates, and oddly enough, even the old head boy of my grade when I was in school was there, all of them. And it became apparent that the planet was gradually moving closer and closer towards Earth. Okay, now this was like right at the end of the dream. This is how it ended, okay? So I see the silhouette of Saturn standing on the top of this balcony. It literally was so enormous and so intense. It was like Saturn was clearly like right next to Earth. And that is really insane. I found out later when I woke up the next day and Googled it and stuff, that if Saturn had to actually really move that close to Earth, Earth would actually fall into an orbit with Saturn and become one of its moons and start orbiting around Saturn, which is insane because obviously life would end because, then the Earth would be going round and in all aspects of space that wouldn't have sun and all the stuff we need to live, basically. So, yeah, pretty crazy thing to have experienced. So yeah, when I woke up the next morning, I figured this all out. I immediately began, though, to focus on the fact that Saturn had created this like really intense feeling in me. I'd realized then that Saturn was actually creating, from its integration into Aries, was now creating this weight over my consciousness, having an 8-year, which I've integrated into quite well with my boyfriend and stuff. And it was having like a really great weight on me. And geez, I ended up deciding, okay, I'm going straight outside. I went straight outside that morning. My boyfriend study just climbed into the hammock and lay in the sun and was like, okay, I'm chilled. And then I went right into the sun as well. And I started stretching and used this yoga technique using Saturn. It was a Saturn yoga instructor. And I actually started using her Saturn yoga practice to like kind of breathe and stretch out parts and aspects of the dream that I was starting to realize in waking life I needed to change in my mind, change in my subconscious, change in my emotions, change in my being. Because I was starting to realize that Saturn was actually showing me in that dream aspects of myself that had been holding me back because I hadn't even realized that those things that just had always seemed so normal was actually stuck thoughts and stuck parts of me that were not moving, because we're in the year of the horse, which is all about moving, and here I am like having an 8-year in the year of the horse. I've really got to move. So yeah, it was quite crazy. And so yeah, after the yoga session, with the conscious breathing and the conscious moving, and actually I breathed and moved out quite a lot of that stuff. I felt so much better. My life felt more meaningful. It felt more open. It felt like it had more potential. And over retrograde, I had a really awful time. I lost my job, just so you know, and a bunch of other really like seemingly totally negative things happened that I actually managed to just like kind of just keep going over and just move on through. But these things still kind of materialize. So yeah, I mean, I found now, like, after this whole thing, like, life's more meaningful, it's lighter, there's more possibility, I feel more capable of holding my stuff together. Since then I have actually just got a new job, sort of, and things have lightened up a bit, not just for me but for my boyfriend as well in our life here. I feel like things are just getting into a better, lighter phase, and there's more space for abundance now in life and more space for creativity again, which is just so much better. So yeah, this is exactly where I wanted to leave this today, because this is just the thought that I'm trying to inspire, not just from what I'm saying, but for us all to remember. Because wherever you think you are in life, and whenever you start slipping into a comfort zone or feeling too much like, okay, you know what, what's it, shit stinks, but it's warm. Just remember that you are the creator of your own life. You are the only one that really, when that starts happening, are actually getting in your own way. And oftentimes, when that happens, it's happening because it's feeling what's exactly what I said just now, like the really bad things that are actually happening. You're not even realizing all the time how bad they actually are, and how you shouldn't just be accepting every terrible thing that happens. You know what I mean? So it is a good thing to remember we are strong manifestors in this life. A lot of us are stronger manifestors than we realize, and we are more capable of moving stuff out of our own way, from our own minds and our own stuff, to create ourselves as greater beings than we were before. And don't forget to stop shifting. I know that the year of the snake has ended, where we kept shedding skin, and that's fine. But remember that we're still beings who keep shifting. And yeah, okay, that's where I'm going to leave you. Have a good evening. Bye bye.